What an incredible experience this is going to be today. Guys, if you're selling in any kind of capacity, which you should all be selling something, whether it's your personal brand or your time for a salary, we're all selling something. I think that's really important to remember. But if you're selling something, part of a good practice is a conversation that leads you to success. So I have the one, the only Ian Genius here today. Now, Ian is an absolute subject matter expert when it comes to sales conversations that lead to success, but he's also an expert at the closing of the sale, how to take interest from a buyer, turn it into a conversation that leads to a conversion, and again, that close. So, Ian, so glad to have you here today. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Very good in sunny England.
Is it a sunny day in England today?
Actually, yeah, this is the one day of sun we'll get this year, so I'm going to enjoy it.
And you're stuck inside talking to me? Well, thank you for being on the show today. I think everybody's going to take a lot out of this conversation, Ian, because I see so many really good, talented people right here on LinkedIn and otherwise that are really smart. They're great at what they do. Maybe they're the best in their field, but their sales approach is lacking. And a lot of times it's not good. It leads to diminished business and scalability and growth. So, Ian, what are your thoughts on, like a conversation that we could have to set us up for success with our prospects? What do you think?
Yeah, well, some people have got a high opinion of sales and they love selling, and it's probably more people that don't. They see it as a bit of a pain. But before clients can use you, first they have to choose you, right? So whether you like it or you don't, they've got to choose you first. And you can call it selling, you can call it anything you like. Now, for me, I don't like a lot of what's thought to be closing, putting people in uncomfortable positions, forcing them into decisions they didn't want to make, right? So a lot of people say, I want a closing technique. And I'm like, really? Are you sure? Are you sure? What you want them to, like you could say to someone, which one do you want, the blue one or the green one? And you're thinking, well, I haven't actually said I wanted either. And it's awkward, right? You end up being in fight or flight.
Mm.
Do you really want the conflict and saying, I didn't say I want either of them, knowing full well that that won't be the end of the attack? It'll be, why don't you want it? And you'll be in another endless. So it's at that stage where most people start making up excuses of why they can't. I have to run it past my wife, and they're
Mm.
not even married. It's just a cover story to get them out. Ideally, what if you could make it so easy to buy that you didn't need to get better at selling? What if you could make your offer, your gold service, a no-brainer? What if you could make it so blazingly obvious that clients close their own sales? They said to you, I'd like to buy it. Where do I buy it? How much, you're not having to say, would you like to buy it? They're saying to you, I would like to buy it. So my approach is, and it's not wordplay, it's not just how he's found a clever way around it. My entire approach is make it so easy to buy. You don't need to get better at selling.
Mm. I like that. So you say, we have most people have levels of packages. So you mentioned the gold service. So we see that a lot, right? A lot of customers maybe potentially they go for that lower tier service and they don't go for the platinum or the gold or whatever you call it, the higher tier service. Why is that? Right? Is
Well,
it a part of our conversation that we're having?
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got the gold service and the gold service helps the clients the most, and behind that sits the silver, and that helps them not quite as much in the bronze service below that.
Mm.
If they pick your bronze service and they should have picked your gold, they've missed out on help. You've missed out on business. No one's won.
Yeah.
If
No
you've got
one's perfect.
no one's won. No one's won that game. No one's clever and go, oh, I've won. You haven't won. You missed, they missed help. You missed business. Who won that? No one. If you have 5 services that each help them in a different way and they pick one of them, good, but they missed out on 4. How does them missing out on the help of 4 services help them? Doesn't. How does you missing out on the business of 4 help you? Doesn't. Or it could be they used me for 3 months instead of 3 years. How did that help? It didn't. It just comes down to making a good choice. It's a natural conversations to help people make better choices, and it's a massive spectrum. But it sort of comes to this. Let's say you choose something you want to do, right? And that could be, I want to convert more potential clients into spending clients. I want a higher percentage of those conversations to go well. Instead of 3 out of 10 saying yes, I want 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10, something like that. Or it could be that you want them taking your gold service more often. So let's say I convert 7 out of 10, brilliant. But if 6 out of the 7 are picking the bronze, there's a problem still. Yes, they are becoming spending clients, but they're 6 of the 7 people that you speak to are taking the weakest of your packages. So it could be converting more potential clients to spending clients. It could be taking more of the spending clients to your gold instead of your silver or bronze. It could be something just, I want to charge more money. I believe my service is worth more money than I'm charging. And again, it does not matter what that price is. I'm charging 2,000. Is it worth it? Yeah. What do you think it's worth? 3,000. Okay, so there's somewhere to go. So if the best choice is something, there's more of it, higher level, what is stopping the business achieve these better results? What's stopping them convert more, in taking more, taking betters, charging more? Right? Well, firstly, one of the problems is if the client or potential client doesn't realize they even have a problem. If they don't even realize they have a problem, doesn't matter how good your solution is. I've got a solution. Yeah, but I haven't even got a problem yet.
Yeah.
The solution solves a problem and they don't know they've got a problem. So firstly, do they even realize they have a problem? And if they know they've got 2 problems, but they've got 5, help them to realize the other 3 problems they hadn't remembered. They hadn't attributed to that. They didn't realize they were connected. So the first thing is, do they realize they even have a problem? But it's all right knowing you've got a problem, but if you don't really accept it's a problem, now that's like trying to help an alcoholic who's not willing to say, I'm an alcoholic. We've all been there in some walk where we wanted to help the person more than they wanted helping. That's not any good. So they know they've got a problem and they accept they've got a problem. But if they don't know how bad the problem is, they're not going to pay to solve it. Again, I don't know if this is maybe an English thing, but in England, do you have pins and needles in America? Is that phrase get used, pins and needles? You get tingly hands?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So you see, if you had pins and needles, would you run as fast as your little legs would carry you to the hospital and say, oh my goodness, I've got pins and needles? No one's going to do that. They're just going to wait a little bit and it's going to go away, or they're going to shake their hand or do something. No one's going to do that. Now, if you saw someone with a problem that they thought they had pins and needles and you knew their arm was about to fall off, right? It doesn't matter that their arm's about to fall off, because if they think they've got pins and needles, they're not going to pay you money to solve pins and needles. So they need to know they've got a problem. They've got to accept it's a problem. They've got to know how bad the problem is. That happens before you even tell them they've got a solution. If you start selling the solution before they've even realized, accepted, and know how bad the problem is, then you're wasting your time. You're completely wasting your time. So one thing we need to make sure is they understand. They understand they have a problem. They understand that they need to accept it. They understand how bad it is. And then finally, they understand how we solve the problem. Because again, I know I've got a problem, I accept I've got a problem, I know how bad the problem is, but I've absolutely no idea how you get rid of the problem. That's no good either, right? So they need to understand every single part of it. So we know they need to understand, because if they don't, the only thing that leaves them is guessing, right? If they don't really understand how your solution solves their problem, the only thing they could do is guess. I hope.
Yep.
Guess and hope. I hope it works. I'm guessing it works. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So I'm deliberately shifting a problem on now. So we know now that we have to check a client's understanding.
Yes. I think that is so key
We have
though, Ian. Like that is something that you taught me last year, especially, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we're confident. We're confident that our solution is the best solution that's going to help that client. And that nobody's doing the exact same thing that we're doing. And we feel like we have this whole holistic, perfectly packaged solution that can help people, right? However, if you don't show people where they are now, like what you're saying, if they don't understand that they have a problem, and if you don't, kind of hone in on that and show them where they are now with enough effectiveness, what it's going to do is no matter how great your solution is, it's kind of going to go over their heads because they don't identify that they actually have that problem. So helping people see kind of where they are now, like what you're saying, I think is really important.
I'd say in most meetings that I've experienced, like 7/8 of the meeting are this is the solution,
Mm,
and there's only an eighth of this is the problem
wow.
you've got, right? When in reality, it should be flipped. It should be spent, because if you had a meeting and 7/8 of it, and 3/4 of it, whatever it was, a significant chunk was just on the problem. And let's say you ran out of time, you'd know that this person really, really understood your problem because you'd have exposed all the experience and trust and everything else by they gave you a problem and you expanded it and gave them even more. And you go, this person, you're not a salesman at that point, you're the doctor.
Yes.
And this is huge, because why are we all in whatever realm we're in, whatever we do for a living, why are we better at solving the problem than the other people? Because this is the problem we've spent more time on. This is the problem we've failed more times than other people. We've failed and we've worked out how to get past that failure, and we've rebuilt it again, and we maybe crashed and burnt again, and we keep working out and we finally got to the end. Far past it, everyone else has failed and sacked it off. And we got really good at not getting past these problems, right? So we know this problem inside out and back to front. The chances that when someone comes to you, you've never heard of their problem before. Not only have you heard the problem, but you know the 5 variations that lead from that problem into the next problems. So we can really expose what's happening now and how bad it is, but not, and all the other things that are going to stem from it. And once you've done this, that's when your engagement and your trust goes up, because you're not the salesman. You're the person that's now showing them, I've had this happen to me, and I've had it happen to clients, and I know it, and I know how painful it is. And suddenly you move away from salesperson,
Wow.
you become the
Yeah. A
doctor.
specialist, really, somebody that truly
Yeah,
understands what their client's going through, their pain points, their struggles, and ultimately what it can lead them to if they don't remedy that, if they don't fix it, right? And as the doctor,
yeah.
as the specialist, that's what you help people understand. But so oftentimes, Ian, I see this happen on LinkedIn, social selling in general. People don't go and try to understand your problem. I probably have 30 direct messages sitting in my LinkedIn box right now of a sales pitch from somebody that I've never actually met, from someone that I've never interacted with. Probably 5 out of those 30 I'm not even connected with yet, and they're already pitching me in a message immediately. Now, they haven't assumed I have what they've done is assumed I have a problem that I may not actually have. Do you see this a lot?
Yeah, and again, it's a game of numbers now, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you send 1,000 of these and three in 1,000 say bite at some part of it, then you've got three people. And if so, you just play a game of, I don't know if these people have got the problem, I don't know if they own the problem, I don't know, or anything, but you just play a numbers game. And everything's going to be a numbers game, especially if you're connecting to people that you've no idea whether they do or don't have the problem. But I mean, at least if you started off, are you frustrated when clients focus on price? You'd go, right, I fall into that set or I don't fall into this set. If I fall into it, I might be interested in what you've got to tell me. And if I don't, well, it's not relevant anyway. There's no point going further. Are you frustrated when clients focus on price? No. Well, here's a solution. I'm not interested. So it dies at that point, doesn't it? But yeah, you can get bombarded. And it obviously must work for some people if they just send it to enough people out there. But there's always two worlds, right? There's working clever and working hard. So if you see 10 people and two of them say yes, great. And let's say you thought, well, I need 4 clients. So every 10 people, 2 say yes. So I've got to see 10 and get 2. And then I've got to see another 10 and get another 2. So now I've got my 4. And you've got 4 people. Or you could have seen the original 10 people, instead of converting 2 out of 10, done something to convert 4 out of 10. You'd still end up with 4 spending clients, but you wouldn't have had to waste your time in front of 10 people. And if it was a face-to-face conversation, that might have been 10 meetings, like 45 minutes for the meeting, 5 minutes where you were set up earlier prepping, 5 minutes for an email afterwards, 5 minutes for a phone call afterwards. And suddenly that's, an extra 10 meetings at an hour long. That's another 10 hours down the toilet because you're not working clever. You're trying to sell a solution before you've even worked out whether someone does or doesn't have the problem.
Yeah, I see it happen a lot. And I'm a big proponent of adding value first, right? Building that trust, building that credibility, building a bridge, a communication bridge, but reaching out to people just like they're people in real life. I think that's a big one too, Ian, because why would this be any different? Now, LinkedIn is the world's largest business to business networking platform, but it's still a social media platform, right? So people show up, they want to meet, they want to be social, they don't necessarily want to be pitched to immediately. Um, but one of the best ways that we can get a conversation with them started is adding value, right? Getting to know them personally, not assuming they have a problem yet. I think that's so
Yeah.
important.
And again, if you don't get to know someone first, I mean, when you go to a doctor's, right, you don't typically go in with the worst thing that's wrong with you. You go in with an opening gambit of my arm's a bit scratchy, please. And then gradually, as that trust and engagement goes up, you're probably more inclined to give them more and more serious problems. So even if they had got a problem and you don't, you're not adding value and you're not building a relationship and you're not doing anything at all, is that person going to want to tell you the
Yeah.
truth? It's why would anyone from someone that's just connected to them blind start revealing all their life horrors?
And,
So,
part of
you
that
know,
too is, I think about the conversations we've had before. It's part of just being memorable, showing up, being consistent. I think a lot of salespeople, they, reach out on a cold DM, but then they may not post. They may not, have a lot of consistency with their content. They may not add value with their content. They're not memorable, right? So I think that's a big important thing too on LinkedIn. It's almost 1 billion members globally right now. It's growing rapidly. So in order for us to be remembered and for people to eventually, buy from us and convert, we have to be original. We have to stand out, right?
again, I mean, there's going to be a link to a book that I've put together that is 64-page ebook on how to grab attention, how to create intrigue, how to stand out and stay remembered. Again, it comes back to this. You could have the greatest service known to man. You could, what you did, whether it's a product or a service, you could help more people in a better way than anyone else. But if no one knows you exist, right, you can't buy something if you don't know it exists. I mean, think about it. You go to a friend's house and they pull out some gadget out of a drawer to open a can of beer or do something, and you go, "Wow, I love that. Where'd you get it from?" But they couldn't buy it before because they didn't know it exists. And again, it doesn't matter if you don't do things in a unique way to stand out and stay remembered, you're going to be forgotten. If you're there one day and you're not there for the next 10, I found out I'm interested and then you've killed me off because you're only there once in a blue moon. Or if you're not consistent with the messaging, one day it's over here and some other day it's over there. It's just higgledy piggledy. It's not consistent. But you've got to stand out. I mean, we've spoke at hours and we've done bits and pieces together, and you know I'm a man of extremely limited talent. Yeah, you know this. I only have two skills. I've got a little tiny bag, and inside this little tiny bag, I have two skills. That is it. I'm a man of extremely limited talent, and I only have two skills, and those skills I can impress people and irritate people. And you're nodding, so you're saying, yes, that's true, Ian. And I have two skills, impress people and irritate people, but my name will get brought up. But I was in sales for 24 years on the road, big field sales jobs in England, covering several counties. I know that several counties in America is literally nothing's just down the road, but you've got to be known for something. You're almost better being the sales rep that gets on everyone's nerves than to be the one that no one even knows exists.
Yeah. Well, you have to stay top of mind awareness. And I preach that constantly. If you're not top of mind awareness with your target audience at the point they're ready to buy, they are going to go to the person, the company, whatever, that is at top of mind with them. And ultimately, they may be making an incorrect buying decision because you're not showing up with consistency. You're not top of mind. I think the general statistic with marketing is that 85% or so of your target audience at any point in time is not ready to make a purchasing decision. But the point of marketing is that when they are ready to buy, that you're top of mind and they make that decision and buy from you. That's the key, but
Yeah.
if you're not, and we know this, 1% of LinkedIn users post content with consistency. 1% out of almost a billion. So that's a lot of eyeballs for people, right? Potentially, if you're consistent, if you're staying at that top of mind, because it could be a year. I've had that situation, Ian, on LinkedIn where I've talked to somebody 8 months, a year ago, and then 1 year later, they've come to me, I'm ready to make that purchasing decision now. But if I wouldn't have been active for that time, would they have come back? I don't think so, right?
And you've got sometimes you get these meetings where people are from these big marketing, the companies where they sell aloe vera or they've got some creams or something, or they reduce your gas and electricity. So they've bought into something, and then they represent a town or a village or wherever it is. So on the day when you decide you want some aloe vera, or you want some special cream, or you want to reduce your gas and electricity, the aim now is to be that top of mind person to go to, because I've met now 18 of them, 64 of them, 1 million of these people, right? And I could pick any one of them. So I'm going to pick the first one that's going to pop into my head will be a good start. I might not pick them, but at least if they're in my reckoning in the top 3, if I can't even remember who they were, I'm knackered. They're not going to get it if I can't remember who they were. But when a lot of people introduce themselves and they're part of these big companies where they're playing a small part, is they don't sell themselves. They sell the big company. They say, oh, we've been established since 1983 and we've got the biggest plantation here, and we've got nothing about them. So 18 people, you've heard it, tell the same story 18 times over, this generic story, good or bad or indifferent, the same generic story over and over and over. And we know people buy people first, and good people buy good people first, but you're doing nothing to differentiate yourself away from the other 18. You're not saying, when you use me, if there's this sort of a problem, I can help you out, or you can learn from my guidance or anything like that. Most 99% aren't there. They just tell me, they sort of tell you these wonderful stories, especially when it's someone from England. They're telling you, we've got all these fantastic plantations in Florida. You've never been to Florida. Why are you wasting your time? I'm going to be buying it from you. How are you going to help me? And it's just, I use this in some of my classes, but if you go to a shoe shop and you went there on a Monday and a Wednesday, the shoes do not change between Monday and Wednesday. The range was the same shoes. Yes, some may be in and out of stock, but the shoes on a Monday are the same shoes as a Wednesday because that season of shoes has not changed, right? But on a Monday, they're very pleasant and helpful, and they're offering you suggestions and everything. On a Wednesday, they're having a natter with themselves, pushing around boxes or can't be bothered. Your experience of the shoe shop is completely different on a Monday and a Wednesday. The shoes did not change. The shoes were not the problem. If you say on Monday this shoe shop was brilliant and on Wednesday were rubbish, it wasn't the shoes. It was the people. So if you want to stand out and you want to stay remembered, and if people buy people first, give me some reason to gravitate to you. Do something where I can remember you. Because if I can't remember you, I can't phone you, find you, or anything to have another chat on the 8th, the touch points, or it might take someone 10 times, but I can't remember you 10
Exactly.
times.
That's why I preach so much about, generally when clients come to me, they think they want content strategy. That's what they need first. But then I look at their LinkedIn profile and it looks like a sea of other LinkedIn profiles, right? It's not memorable. It's not unique. It doesn't stay in the target audience's brain, and it won't convert. So I think, one of the best ways to be remembered, stay remembered, is to have an original profile and have that updated. Make sure it's optimized. Make sure it looks like you. Because like you said, people buy people first, right? And we only get just a couple of seconds on that LinkedIn profile for someone to go onto it and ultimately decide, do I like this person? Do I trust this person with money, right? Do I respect this person? Do I want to do business with this person? And they judge it just in a couple of seconds. So if our LinkedIn profile is not memorable, if it looks like everybody else's, and then we're coupling that with inconsistent strategy as far as outreach, content, whatever, genuineness, authenticity, well, it's not going to work, right, Ian?
It's got it like at the end as well when you said it's got to be authentic.
So key.
I mean, one of the reasons for a long time I wanted to set my own business up because I could call it what I wanted and I could sell what I wanted and I could sell it to who I wanted and I could take my holidays when I wanted and all these things, right? So that's one of the best things. You're in control. You've got control, right? And then with all this control, 99% of people just hold themselves back and make themselves exceedingly bland. Like still in the corporate world, you've got all this ability to show your passion and enthusiasm and drive and determination, and then you think, oh no, I've got to stick within these really tight confines of someone else's rules that I've been brought up with, and they go back to being beige again.
Yes.
And there's all these adverts on TV that they'll jump. We end up singing the songs the next day because they've grabbed our attention. So we know this works. When an advert does something really weird, that everyone's talking about it, or 10, 15, 20 years later, you can still sing the song because it did do something different and it did stand out. The worst thing, like I say, if you impress people, you've got some people who are impressed. If you're trying to irritate people, you've got their attention. If you're boring in the middle and you're not doing anything to stand out, you're not creating intrigue, you're not doing anything at all. I mean, I created a character called Terry Bland, the most boring man in all accountancy, right? And everyone, if you're losing the will to if you're losing the will to live because that pitch is so boring, it's just shutting off. People just they're starting to do their emails and they're starting to check their, it's dull. Don't be dull. The reason you're doing what you're doing is because you are passionate. If you're doing something that you're not liking, you're an idiot.
Exactly.
If you set up your own business in the thing that you're supposedly passionate about and you're not passionate about it, you're an idiot. Why didn't you do something you love doing?
Yep.
And if you love doing it, why aren't you showing me some passion, some drive, why aren't you showing me any of
Exactly. It's
it?
got to show up in your profile, right? And I believe that. I believe that when we go to somebody's profile, that it should be interactive. I want to see videos. I want to see pictures. I want to see website links. I want to understand how I can work with that person if I want to work with that person. But their profile picture shouldn't look like, if you cut off their head, you could just replace their body or whatever with anybody else. And same thing with the banner. It shouldn't look copy and paste. My mom always told me no star ever stood out by blending in with the other stars. Same principle here.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to remember you if you look like everyone else, right?
And I fell into this trap. I mean, I'm not saying anything from a position of being better. I'm in a position 9 times out of 10 of being worse. I've failed more times than anyone else
Yep.
has tried, right? Um, but I mean, I thought I'd have a crack at doing my own logo and color schemes. And I don't know, I'm a man of numbers really and logic. I don't know creative ideas and colors and it's awful as well. My artistic skills are no better than a 5-year-old. You know, when you do something on like an Etch a Sketch and you're trying to do a house, it's like basic, it's rubbish. And then a very good friend of mine, Sean Pritchard from Own 2 Creative, he's known me for ages, so he knows me as a pal. We're drinking buddies, so he knows I'm into theatre, comedy, magic, wrestling, silliness, nonsense, and everything. And he made my branding playful and colourful, and it's like cartoonesque and everything like that, and it's comic strip driven. And no, because it wasn't doing me justice. It wasn't. I go to do a pitch at a networking, and you know me, I'll do a character or I'll sing or I'll do something people weren't expecting, and I'll grab attention. But my branding and the messaging. So recently, I've changed it,
Yeah.
and then I put it onto like the mugs and the bottle openers and everything because now I got something I actually wanted to. I wanted to look the ingenious bookmark.
I have all of your gear. It's awesome. Thank you for sending it to me. No, but
But
I think that is so huge. Going into the personal branding aspect of it, of course, that's what I do and help people with. It's not cookie cutter. Nobody should be the same. It should show your authenticity. It should show your likes, your interests. It should be genuine to you. Even if it's not and you're trying to copy somebody else, and I think a lot of people fall into that category. They're trying to copy what has worked for somebody else. It's not going to appear genuine to them, and it's ultimately not going to get them an aligned audience. They won't have aligned customers. It's going to lead to confusion, and you're going to probably end up redoing it anyway. So starting with a good brand strategy is a good way to position yourself and set you up for success so that you can have that recall, recognition, memory, and then the authenticity of your own voice and personality is so key. And I like how you mentioned that.
yeah, and again, if you take this, when a liar tells a lie and then he gets caught out or she gets caught out, they have to tell another lie to cover the last lie. It's very difficult, right?
No.
But again, if you're not authentic, not because you can't be, but because you think you shouldn't be, that's harder. It was a lot harder to keep this pretense up of what it really is and what it isn't and all the rest of it than just actually be straight. And it's not hard to be passionate about it when you're telling the truth and you're talking from experience and you can say, like, I messed it up. I get it. I feel your pain. I know that. I mean, again, for one of the things is, like I said, one of the reasons what we're good at helping people is because we weren't, right? We weren't, and we pursued it. But often people don't want to let their guard down and say, the reason I can help you is because I wasn't very good and I worked out how to be good. But that's the one thing that endears you to that person. If periodically I want to lose some weight, well, I'd rather get some tips off someone that had to lose weight than someone that never lost weight saying, here's how to keep trim, because that person's never lived my life of gradually getting 3 stone, 4 stone overweight. The person that's gone through the pain that worse than I have, he was 20 stone that's got down. He knows, I know he's experienced that. So
Yeah.
it's, again, wear the t-shirt. If the reason you can do it is because other people, because you couldn't in the past, don't come from a position of I'm better than you. Say, look, it's because I was worse. I know, I feel your pain. But again, that comes to people thinking, well, I can't expose any frailties. I can't expose any weaknesses. I've got to be perfect in every way. I was born literally as good. I was born and I was this good then. And it's a nonsense. So it's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine. And then the rest falls into place.
Absolutely. And I know that's exactly right. I've failed more times than most people have tried as well. And all of those failures, all of those lessons have really been the best teachers, because I know what works, I know what doesn't work. And once you develop that strategy of, really honing it in, understanding a process and what works, it makes everything so much easier because you start to become more successful. It just starts that success for you. It really ignites it. But I love everything that you said. It's the communication, non-verbally and verbally, the communication of our design on our profile. Again, is it appealing to our target audience? Is it authentic to us? And then once we start having conversations with people, how are we talking to them? Are we pitching them, or are we genuinely getting to know somebody and identifying what their problems are? And then even if somebody buys, are they buying the right package for them? Right? So don't presume it's a victory if most of our clients are buying that bronze service as opposed to the gold, if that could help them. So these conversations for sales success encompass all of that. And that's what I want to teach people. You and I get together and teach people on a webinar, because I think so many people, maybe they're missing one part of that equation. Maybe it's three out of six, or 5 out of 6 even. What if we could solve all of that in a group and knock it out and make sure people have these conversations for success? They're staying remembered, they're top of mind awareness, and we give people these strategies to do that. Ian, does that sound like something you would want to do?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, for me, I can show people how to, to grab attention, to create intrigue, so that people are listening to you in the first place. Because again, it doesn't matter how good your message is. You could be in a networking event, and if the last person has bored everyone to death, it doesn't matter. Your pitch could be okay, right? What you say could be okay, but they're not paying full attention at this point because the last one was so dull. They're half doing something else. So you've got to pattern interrupt them straight away. You've got to grab attention, create intrigue. You've got to captivate the audience. And then you've got to make sure that they, like I said, you've got to go through a logical stages. Do they even realize they have a problem? Do they accept they've got a problem? Because they're not by themselves. You've already said, I know it, I'm with you, right? Other people are with you. You're not in a set by yourself. You're in a set with other people. And it's a good set because these other people have actually done very well. It's not a set of people who are doing badly. So you know it. And then how do you realize, do other people realize how bad their problems are and how to solve it? And I can show people how to create everything from a 45-second pitch up to a discovery call to grab people's attention, how to make sure they really understand the problem. Because again, for my push is doing nothing more sinister than helping people make better choices, make a better informed choice. The more help they take, the better it's for them. And as a direct response, the better it is for the business. But not because you've sold them anything. You've simply helped them make a better choice so they took more help and better help. But we've got to stop. It's our job to get them there.
Yeah.
And, I've put some things in today for people to have a look at that will get them, the perfect sales pitch, an ebook. It's 25. I've been doing this since 1998. And before that, theatre, comedy, magic, and all sorts of other things to help people grab attention, how to simplify messages. I'm not into, I call myself, I'm Ian Genius with an Ian Genius alternatives, to selling. But genius is making things simple.
Yes.
Passion is not making things complicated. I'm the world's thickest genius. My strength is taking things that people think are hard turning them into tiny little easy bits that everyone goes, that's easy peasy, and then building them back up again. You know, it's when people go, I didn't realize how easy that was. I always thought it was hard. No, it's really easy if you break it down. That's my passion, breaking things down. So when we work together, that's going to be my drive, you know, how to help people so that they can help their clients make better choices from the moment they open their mouth to the you know, to the end when they say, I'd like to buy your services. And it does tie in perfectly with yours because they can do videos as well, and it's about their branding and their logos and the messages. And you talked about the tone of voice. So my thing's typically what physically leaves your mouth, but the same thing needs to be true of written. Does it still sound like you when it's in a post, or does it now completely non-align and it's 1 minute you're fun and then the posts are all serious and they're robotic? It's got to
Exactly.
be consistent, hasn't it?
Exactly. You have to have that consistency across your brand. Otherwise, it's going to lead to confusion. So, what we're doing, what our mission is we want to help really good, purpose driven people succeed. We want to help people increase the amount of good conversations they have with prospects, increase the number of sales that they close so that we're not wasting our time, so that we're more efficient. But again, how to stand out, how to stay remembered, how to be consistent. Going back to the tone of voice, the tonality of our verbiage, of our copywriting, of our profile in general. Making sure that when somebody lands on our page that it converts, that they remember us, and that our content strategy aids in the magnetism of an attraction of our target audience, not the detraction of it, right? We can only do that by being authentic to ourselves and by being memorable, right? So these are some of the things that we're going to teach our students in our upcoming class. So we encourage anybody, regardless, that, you know, if you want to close more deals, if you want to sell more effectively on LinkedIn or on social or otherwise, or in real life, it doesn't matter. This is going to be a class that absolutely takes you to that next level. It's about having a conversation for success, closing it at a higher ratio, at a better package so that everybody wins. Because ultimately, just like you said, Ian, sales is nothing more than solving, and it's nothing more than guiding someone toward the correct decision. That is so key, but they can only do that if you're doing this effectively with all of these combined elements. So that's what we're going to teach everyone. But grab your ebook, grab it. It's the perfect pitch. But Ian has a lot of services. Together, we're going to have a mastermind of how to sell more effectively. Anything else to add, Ian, before we head out?
All I'd say is, for me, it does not matter what the business is. Right? It doesn't matter whether you're selling to one person or 1,000 people. It doesn't matter if you have a product or a service. It doesn't make any difference if it's an emotional service or a logical service. It doesn't matter if you make people money, save people time, or help them emotionally get rid of anxiety, right? The three requirements for my material to work are these. One, you've got the honesty to say you're not perfect. Because if you're perfect, I have nothing to show you.
Yeah.
Right? You're honest enough to say, I'm struggle with this. I'm frustrated by that. I'm concerned about the other. Because again, if nothing's a frustration, if nothing's a concern, then there are no problems and I can't solve nothing. So you just got to be open to, you know, you wouldn't go to the doctors and they say, what's wrong with you? You go, nothing. You go, why are you here then? Right? You've got, it's nothing more, nothing sinister, but just take your guard down. I'm not perfect. I struggle with this. I'm frustrated by this. I'm concerned. Good. Honesty, nothing more. The next thing is, have you got a desire to do better? Because if you've settled, I'm doing all right, and that's enough. Well, it doesn't matter what me or you show them, because if they're already at where they wanted to be. So I want people with bucket loaded desire and passion to drive forward. And I don't care if they're rubbish or brilliant. Even if they were brilliant, if there's a gap between brilliant and perfection, they're at 92. Good. 93, 94, 95, 96. They're all better. There's still something to improve into, right? Do you want it? Because if you don't, it's the horse to water. I can't make you drink, but so we need some ambition. We need a burning desire. So honesty, say you're frustrated, you're not perfect, a burning desire to do better. And the last thing is an open mind to a new solution. If you think you've already heard everything that I'm going to say and you're going to say before they've heard it, that won't work.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we're going to say things that they've never even heard of before? Is it possible that we might know things that they don't know, and not because this is our specialty subject? So it's an open mind. That's it. Honesty, ambition, and an open mind. And they have the same three criteria that is for any business, whatever it was. My health's not perfect. I'd love it to be better. I'm open to new solutions. My website's not perfect. I'm frustrated. I'd love it to be better. I'm open to new solutions. It's the same truism for every business going. Honesty, ambition, and an open mind. So if people have got those three things, they'll do absolutely fantastic on our.
Absolutely. Nothing. We won't leave any room for interpretation. And we're very much step-by-step people. So it's, I think, as long as you want to improve and you are not happy with the amount of sales that you're closing, that you want to do better, that you have a burning desire to succeed beyond what you've already accomplished in life and with your career, this is great. This is a good opportunity for you to get that much better. But thank you so much, Ian. Thank you for everyone that tuned in today as well. And we will, see you in that masterclass. We really want to help people take their sales to that next level. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you on the next episode. In the meantime, watch out for the link for our masterclass coming up very soon. And we look forward to seeing you there. Take care.